Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about the must-have AI skills that you need to augment yourself and be competitive and take advantage. We're going to look at prompt engineering, what AI models to use for specific purposes, what are AI agents and how they are on the rise and shaking things up, and how to leverage AI projects as well. Before we dive into all these topics, I want to give you a reminder. I do a free webinar every single Friday live with me, Q&A, with link down below. So sign up, join me every Friday, and you have full access to ask me anything about professional development, the job market, searching strategy, networking, whatever it might be. If you're maybe looking to deep dive on a particular topic and need a dedicated one-on-one session, but for a very, very short time frame, hit me up on Connect, which is linked down below. And if you're looking for some one-on-one coaching to really accelerate your career, then start with the quiz that is linked down below. That will book a free consultation and we can get things started. All right, with that out of the way, must have skills from an AI perspective. So I recently made a comment in a video where I said AI will not replace you, but someone that knows how to use it will. And this gave me a lot of different questions and DMs and things like that, to where people were just asking, like, what does that mean? How are people using it effectively? So first and foremost, the thing to understand here is what's known as prompt engineering. This is how to input the correct information or frameworks of how to put input information to have AI function how you want it to function and get the results that you're looking at. So that's the first thing you need to understand. We're going to talk about prompt engineering here with examples. So the first one is going to be the RACE framework. So RACE stands for role, action, context, and expectation. So this means that the role, you're going to define what the AI's persona is. Is this somebody who is maybe a marketing professional? Is this a customer of yours? Is this your boss? Like whatever it is, you want to give it the persona as detailed as you can. So think about this almost like a marketing exercise where it's who's your target audience? So how is the AI functioning? What role are they playing in order to augment your capabilities? Action. What is the task that you want the AI to perform? So again, if they are a marketing professional, are they going to be writing copy for you? Is it going to be developing images for you? Is it going to be analyzing campaign data that you have in order to identify the trends? What is it actually doing? So what are the actions that it's going to take within the given persona that you have given it? Context. So this is going to be the background information that's relevant to the task. So again, if it's a marketing person that's analyzing campaign data, give it the background information. What was the campaign for? What was the intent of the campaign? Who was the target audience of said campaign, right? Give it the information so that it has all of the insider baseball that you have. Okay. Because again, we're trying to have it augment you. And so it needs to know everything that you know about the given situation that you are having it act on. And then the expectation. What is the outcome and format that you want it to respond in? So again, let's continue the same analogy. It's a marketing professional analyzing campaign data. The campaign was targeting people who like to wear blue jeans that are between the ages of 30 and 45, male in blue collar workforce, and they need them to be sturdy jeans. And so you are trying to target them to get them interested in your American made sturdy jeans. And then what you want the AI to do is analyze the marketing campaign data in order to tell you what what does it think maybe led to the people clicking, or based on the links that they clicked, what is maybe a follow-up sequence that it can produce for automated marketing sequencing after this campaign, or where do they maybe need to invest more resources or alter the target audience for the next marketing campaign, and put this into a spreadsheet for me, right? So that's what we're looking to do here is RACE. So you're giving it role, action, context, and expectation. So here's an example using the same analogy we had, right? So as an expert marketing campaign analyzer, I would like you to take this marketing campaign data that is for a marketing campaign to introduce new customers to our blue jeans. We are targeting blue collar male workers between 30 and 45. And the key issue that they have is that their jeans don't last long in their blue collar lifestyle and blue collar work. And so we want to advertise them and make them aware that our jeans are built for them, are sturdy, etc. And what I would like you to do with this data is then tell me what trends you are realizing from who is clicking, what are the audience commonalities, what improvements could be made, and what follow-up sequences could we potentially do. Okay, that would be a prompt that you would want to put in, leveraging this race framework into AI to get the output that you want. Another framework that is very useful is going to be the create framework. So this is going to be character, requests, examples, adjustment, type of output, and extras. You'll realize some themes here, right? So the character is this is where you're going to assign a specific role or persona to the AI. Always make sure you are telling the AI who it is, what its expertise is, what its skills are in the framework. Okay. The request. This is clearly stating your task or inquiry. Examples. So this is the big difference from the previous one, right? Because otherwise it's the same as race thus far with role and action. They're just calling it character and request. So now we're going to do examples. So this is going to be sample outputs or sample inputs that you want it to do. So again, maybe let's use the same analogy we've been running with. So it's going to analyze this data. I'm assuming this is not your first marketing campaign. Maybe you have the analyses you've done before and the types of output. So this is where you're going to give it the examples. Here are some sample inputs that I have previously done that I would like you to use in order to mimic the output, right? Then we're going to do adjustment. So this is where you're going to specify modifications or particular focuses. So again, let's say you had this broad, huge spectrum of analysis that you were doing and you were trying to figure out which audience was most likely to click on it, where were they geographically located, which links were they clicking on, what price were they the most interested in from the product perspective, depending on what was all in your email campaign, right? This is where you can tell it to say, hey, I want you to not necessarily focus on the geographic area. I want you to focus on the city and state, right? So not Northeast US or Southeast US, but I want you to tell me, was it in New York? Was it in Florida? Was it in South Carolina? Whatever. So this is where you're going to tell it to deviate from that information. The type of output. So do you want it to stay the same? Do you want it to say this in a spreadsheet or in a table or whatever format you already gave it? And then any additional information. So this is similar in our race framework to the context, right? So what additional constraints or instructions do you maybe want to have, right? So making sure that it has the full story and framework here. So I like to present this one because it does have some deviations, right? So again, going back to the race framework, you simply are saying, here's your role, the action, the surrounding information, and what I expect you to do. Create is doing that same thing, but it's doing the character. So the equivalents here, right, are going to be character, request, extra, which is the very last E, and then the type of output. But it deviates by adding in, here's examples and samples of what I have historically done, and here's how I would like you to adjust from what I have historically done. And so that's the EA in the middle of create. So that's what I want to point out there. Now, one that's also very, very similar that I want to point out is called the RISE framework. So this is role, input, steps, and execution. So the biggest thing to realize here is the deviation is that you are going to give it the steps of how to do what it's doing. So let me give you an example that's very useful from a job search perspective. So let's say that you are trying to figure out the common keywords across a variety of job descriptions. So you might give the AI a prompt that says, hey, I want you to analyze a set of job descriptions for keywords, key language, and things that should be incorporated into a resume. I will give you the first job description. You will then provide the output for all of the analysis of that first job description, and then you will ask me for the second one. You will ask me for the second job description. I will provide it. You will do the analysis and provide me the output. And we will do this until I have told you that I have provided you all the job descriptions I want you to analyze. So that's where you're giving it step-by-step instructions. So if you notice the commonality here, what are the common themes with prompt engineering? So really, race is your common analogy. You are giving AI a role. You are defining its persona and who it is acting as. You are giving it an action, a task to perform. You are giving it as much context as you are able to provide around the task. So it should know everything that you know about what's happening and the outcome and expectation. Now, potential additions to this are going to be saying, hey, here's the exact process I want you to follow. Here's the step-by-step process that you and I will interact with to achieve this process. And maybe it's providing it multiple documents for analysis, or like I said, providing multiple job description analysis, or maybe it's a continuous, I need to modify this table in this way, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way, whatever it might be, in order to get to the end result. So you're providing it step-by-step instructions. The other addition is potentially providing it samples of output that you've done historically, and maybe adjustments from how you've done it before as well. So again, using the example of maybe you don't want to know about geographic data in terms of the region of a country, but maybe you want to know about specific cities or specific states. So what do you want it to do different than what you did before that maybe was too time consuming, or that you just couldn't really pinpoint how to do so? So that is how to do successful prompt engineering. Now, going on to next, from a AI model diversity standpoint. So most people know ChatGPT. This is just one model that's out there. Kind of your big five are going to be ChatGPT, Gemini, which is done by Google, Claude by Anthropic, XAI or Grok, and Perplexity. And each of them have their own submodels within them. We're not going to go to that degree necessarily. I just kind of want to tell you where each individual large language model excels and where you should be using them, because they each have their use case. And this doesn't mean that you should be signed up and paying for all five and then you're at a $200 a month subscription fee. But maybe you have a free account in one or two, or maybe you realize that, hey, these two solve all of my problems. So I am going to sign up for these two. And I'll even tell you the two that I use and why I use them. Full transparency. So first, let's talk about ChatGPT. So it's made by OpenAI. So ChatGPT is built on RAG, and I am going to forget what RAG stands for as I'm producing this video, so I am sorry. I can tell you what it means, though. So long story short, ChatGPT keeps track of all of your conversation and all of your interactions. And so it learns you over time and what you want. So let's say you're maybe using ChatGPT a lot to help you out as an assistant. So it's helping you a lot with communication with your customers and clients and bosses and superiors and colleagues, etc. Right? So it's going to learn like what you have input into it, saying, here's how I would normally say it. How would you say it, and refine it? And then it allows you over time to potentially say things like, hey, I want you to take into account all of the interactions that we have had in my communication and give me a developmental plan, things like that. So it can pull from all of those different things. And this is actually where I use it a lot, is I like to use ChatGPT for things around human-like interactions or capabilities. It's really, really good at the conversational side. And it's also really good at, helping you learn things. So whenever there's more of a broad spectrum, like I almost look at ChatGPT as like the old Google, where I would just say like Google something, like I'm almost now ChatGPT something. Like it's my broad spectrum starting point for doing particular things and doing particular tasks. Or I mentioned before in previous videos that resumes are better written in AI at this point. Like that's why I built my resume toolkit on ChatGPT. You prompting and interacting with it is because that is what it's good at, really taking a lot of human information and still making something compelling and human-like. So it's very, very versatile. It can fulfill just about any role, any concept, any character. But that also means that it's not the best when it comes to highly specific and niched down things. So if you're maybe looking at to have some software to do some software development code, or engineering and architecture, or design work, in particular areas, things like that. So it just really depends on what you're using it for. I like to use it as the starting point or human to human interaction. Gemini. So Gemini's advantage is it has access to all of Google. It's developed by Google, right? So all of Google's data gathering that they have done over decades, and all of their search history, all of their search results, all of the native integration to Google Suite, right? When you think about Google probably being the number one information source for personal data and habits of people in the world, that's Gemini's advantage. And so it really has intricate access or intimate access to real-time internet data all of the time, and what is happening and what the trends are. So its advantage is that it really provides you the most real-time, up-to-date information about what's online. And it has the backing of all of the search and trending information that Google has tracked over decades. Um, Now, the downside, right, is that it might prioritize information from Google's own services and sources. And while that might seem like, well, like I just said, Google has access to everything and probably has the most consolidated information of all time, it's going to prioritize its own ecosystem over branching out. So it's not treating everybody equally. So you might get a level of misinformation here, which has obviously happened with Gemini historically. You can look into that on your own. But again, it's a really great broad stroke one. And if you are somebody who leverages the Google Workspace, so again, Google Sheets, Google Docs, these sorts of things, Gemini can be wonderful. I think there's even some recent YouTube developments to where you can have it summarize an entire YouTube video and give you the high points and things like that without watching it to save you time. Um, so Gemini has a lot of advantages there, but again, is a great broad stroke ecosystem. Claude, which is made by Anthropic. So this is one that this is the second AI system that I use next to ChatGPT. I use Claude for highly technical things. So my background, my primary career path is in the IT technology space. I have yet to find an AI model that is as good as Claude when it comes to technical functions, software development, engineering, architecture, documentation, these sorts of things. I love Claude for its built-in reasoning management is so good. They also just introduced a education concept. So if you're in an education institution that's leveraging Claude, that's using Claude for education, it can actually act as a professor and someone that you can interact with on like a mentor and coaching level. So it's not just going to, give you the answer, hey, who sailed in 1492 to discover America from Europe, right? And instead of it saying Christopher Columbus, right, it's actually going to interact with you to walk you through the lesson and materials and ask questions back and really make sure that you understand the concepts that you're doing. So it's really good for deep diving into technical, logical scenarios, but also teaching you. One of the other big things that Claude really emphasizes is ethical use and safety. And so they really put a lot of effort into doing unbiased, data driven responses for whatever you do. I think this is also why it's really good at technical aspects, is because it just tries to function off of unbiased, non-leaning one way or the other types of responses. And they're all about safety. They actually have one of the best privacy agreements. If you dive into their terms and conditions and privacy clauses and things like that, they are of the utmost performance there. Something that just a little adjacent real quick. HIPAA healthcare information is one of the most regulated and highly data private situations, like frameworks from a compliance standpoint. And Claude is actually HIPAA certified. And so that they are really good about ethical use and data privacy. But my personal use case, I cannot recommend them enough for highly technical use cases. All right. Now we're getting into XAI, Grok. So this hit the headlines recently, so I'm not going to dive into that aspect of it, to where X and XAI/Grok now merged into the same company and they both are owned by Elon Musk. Don't care, toss that aside, because we're talking about what is functional and what can help you as a professional and when to use these things. So XAI is, I think, going to be a big up and comer. I don't know that it's nailed down really what its niche is at the moment, but I think what it's best at right now is actually content creation and social media trending. So if you're somebody that's in that world, I think that this is your go-to AI model. And the reason being is because it has natively integrated into the X platform. And X, I believe, is the largest and most interacted with social media platform in the world. So when you take that into account, it effectively has direct access and is learning the most human and live real world interaction possible. So it really can know what are the current social media trends, what content should you be creating, What are the trends that go viral and not? How do people word things that gets the most engagement versus not? So XAI is really, I think, its niche right now is social media, and content creation and engagement. Whether or not that stays that way, I don't know. Because again, if you think about the fact that it's getting data, training, and information from the largest social media platform and human engagement platform on the planet, it kind of makes things endless, from what its potential possibilities are. And it's not necessarily just trained on, these articles and things like that, but it's actually trained on human to human interaction. So its niche in the future might simply be that human to human replacement that I mentioned. I think right now that ChatGPT is king at. Um, so it could take over that market. But I think right now, if you are in the social media space doing content creation, or things in that vein, XAI should be your go-to, AI model right now, unequivocally. Last one I want to talk about here is Perplexity. So Perplexity was built originally as a research platform, as a research-driven AI. So it can be a fact-checking source. It can be an academic research assistant. It can help you reliably source information on given topics or maybe on things that you want to cover. So if you are in, scientific fields, or maybe you are preparing for a debate or a discussion or whatever, Perplexity can be really, really good at seeking out the information you need and consolidating them. Or maybe you're somebody like me who honestly, like, I do a lot of like self-driven kind of healthcare and nutrition and fitness stuff, right? Like Perplexity is something that I have messed around with. It's not one of my major platforms that I use, but it is really good at that type of stuff, being like, hey, here's what I'm trying to accomplish from a nutrition perspective. Here's what I don't like. Here's what I don't like to eat and things I'm not willing to change. So based on the latest research, give me the information around, how I can have, a healthy diet in this given scenario. Or, hey, I'm looking to put on 10 pounds of muscle in this time frame. How can I accomplish that in a healthy, sustainable way? What's the latest research around that? Or on the flip side, hey, I was told that if I eat nothing but nuts and berries, that I'm going to get enough protein and good macros for the rest of my life. Is that true? And it can do that fact checking and verification for you. So it's really, really, really good at just information verification and analysis. So if we were to think about maybe different use cases of pairing these things, right? So I really like the idea of maybe Perplexity and Gemini being phenomenal, like as a pairing, right? So Gemini allows you to access all of the real world internet and all of, the up to date things, right? So you can use that to maybe pull in a bunch of information and consolidate, and then have Perplexity verify, hey, is this stuff true? Is there counteracting sources? What does this look like, right? Even pairing with XAI, hey, these are the social media trends that XAI is telling me and ways to go about this conversation. Do you see research or fact checking in the information it's telling me to present on this particular topic? Is it accurate or is it not? Right. So there's different ways to kind of manipulate and use these for a variety of tasks. Right. Or maybe you're trying to develop a technical solution for maybe a social media problem, right? You're trying to maybe develop something that allows you to um, automate content creation that is actually going to trend and not just be generic, right? So you're using Claude to build out the technical product with XAI in order to help the algorithms and the technical product that's being built facilitate all of the social media information from XAI, right? So this is where knowing each one's purpose is, you can kind of combine one, two, three, four, even all five of these for a holistic picture or holistic solution to a given problem. So again, let's sum this up real quick. So ChatGPT is great at human to human interaction. It's great as an initial starting point for helping you to do a lot of broad stroke AI tasks and items. Gemini from Google is really good at having access to all the real time internet and native integration to your Google ecosystem and even YouTube to really help you summarize and be more efficient in gathering data. Claude is phenomenal for technical use cases, engineering, software development, architecture, these sorts of things, and also has a lot of built-in unbiased and ethical and safety standards to really help you out there. XAI's niche right now is having access to the largest social media engagement and audience size platform. So it's really, really good at content creation, social media, and user interaction and engagement. And Perplexity is your go-to research source, fact checking, and source finding type of AI. So these are kind of the big 5 models that I would tell people. And this is not to say that there aren't other ones that are useful. These are just the big 5 that I see people commonly use, and even I have interacted with and used in specific scenarios. I would highly recommend you to learn. And when you pair this with the frameworks that we talked about before, you start to have a very, very, very powerful augmentation to yourself as a professional. Okay, so now we get into AI agents and projects. And so these are a very interesting concept. So projects, I believe, are in ChatGPT and Claude. They might be in other ones as well. Agents are on the rise, but really what these two things are for is there different ways to approach solutions to reoccurring use cases for AI. Okay. So let's say that you have to consistently, let's say again, we'll continue with the marketing example. You are producing content on a variety of platforms. Let's say Facebook. You're producing content on Facebook that you post something every single day. About your given specialty or expertise, right? You know that you have a framework for the way that you post. You have to hook them with something that's contrarian, and you then go into 4 or 5 lines that are spaced out without emojis about expanding on that. Then you go into telling a story that is that's real world for you, and that really hits home and is very emotionally engaging. And then at the end, you tell people to comment down below or have a call to action about whatever it might be. Okay. So you can build out projects or agents where you're saying, hey, here's the role that you're performing. Here's the objective and end result I want you to do. Here's the context of that surrounding information. Here's the SOP I want you to do, that I want you to follow. And here's some sample results, right? So this is actually, instead of you every single time having to engineer a prompt like we did before at the beginning of this is you taking that concept, expanding on it, not to into a single prompt, but to very, very verbose and detailed and impactful information, and really following that. Actually, create framework is the one that we're really following for this, because you're providing examples that you want to do. Actually, I guess it's a mixture of create and rise, because you're both providing examples and you're providing like the SOPs. So that's really what we're looking at here. And so you have AI agents out there, like I think they're called like Reliance AI is one. You have Salesforce Agent Force. You have Microsoft Copilot. There's a lot of agent solutions that are on the rise. And then there's these project functions that are built into some of the large language models that we already talked about. And so these are what's becoming incredibly, incredibly useful, because this is where you get to do 2 different things. One, we've already talked about how to augment yourself. So having good prompt engineering and know the purpose of, or the ideal purpose and use case for specific large language models really allows you to augment yourself. But agents and projects really get into the territory of AI labor, an AI workforce, a digital workforce. So let's take, again, so let's say you are in the marketing space, right? In order to be better at marketing, you also need to be better, or you feel like if you knew sales, you would be a better marketer. Okay. So maybe you build a sales agent. You define that this is a sales representative and that its function is to provide you information and real world results on the sales process and life cycle and best practices. Its intent is to help you be a better marketer by leveraging real world sales data. Here's the context. I work for this type of company. This is what we sell. This is the continual things that we are having issues with in our sales cycle. And here's our continuous wins in the sales cycle coming directly from the sales teams ourselves. Here's the documentation and SOPs that they leverage. Of how they go about things. Here's their sales script. Here's their objection handling concept. Here's the products that they use, etc. Right? And here's some of the samples, or here's the exact scripts and things that they leverage. Now, I want to be able to give you marketing information in order to help out the sales cycle by having campaigns that turn people from cold to warm to make their lives easier on a more consistent basis based off of all this information. Right? So you can make this reprogrammable. You can make this repeatable to where you are interacting with it over here to build out your marketing campaign, to build out your marketing concepts and frameworks. And then you put it into this AI agent solution or this AI project, and you say, hey, what would be your response to doing this from a marketing standpoint? Would this make your life easier or would it not? And this allows you to act as if you're interacting with somebody on the sales team or on the operations team or as a customer, right? So you can build out agents and projects to permanently represent reoccurring personas and people or roles or functions within your company or customer base that allow you to be more effective over and over and over again. Now, the reason the agentic side goes to the next level of projects, because projects are usually honed in to one specific role or persona and objective. Agents allow you to build out departments or even companies. So what you could do, right, is you could, let's say again, you are someone who's in marketing, okay? You need to build out a new marketing campaign, but in order to do so, you need to go do market research, social media research, content research. You also need to look at what has been working from the previous marketing campaigns. You need to have somebody who can consolidate all of this trend and analysis and research and output to you the ideal scenario. So you can make an agent solution that has one agent as your marketing director. You then have a research assistant. You then have a marketer analysis. You then have a data analyzer, and you have a content creator, right? And so you create a framework that says, hey, the marketing director says, here's the new campaign that we need to do with this intended solution. It delegates that to the agents beneath it. Research assistant goes out and does market research, competitive research, et cetera, on what other people are doing. It feeds that back to the marketing director. The marketing director then feeds that to the content creator. The content creator creates some sample content of what it might be and sends that back. And you can literally create a department that is autonomous and augmenting your capability. And this is, like I said, why we're getting into the scenario of digital labor. And so understanding the tools and the frameworks at play for this is going to be huge. Now, this is just the advanced version of what we've already been talking about. So that's why I did it in this order, right? You need to know how to engineer prompts. You need to know what each models are ideal at and what they're used for. Then you can use that knowledge and experience that you've done with in interacting with the models with successful prompt engineering to build that into reoccurring projects and personas, or building out a robust agentic framework where you're building out multiple interacting and autonomous personas and roles within your organization. So, depending on where you are at in your journey, work your way through this framework or through these skills. That is what you want to do. Okay. And this is what's going to set you up for success in terms of augmenting your capabilities now and in the long run. So to give a quick recap here. So AI prompt engineering. This is going to be using the RACE framework, the CREATE framework, or the RISE framework, where ultimately the core is every single time you're interacting with AI, you want to tell it who its persona is and what its role is, what the action that you want it to perform is, what is the contextual information around the task or the historical relevance or the surrounding information to the task you're giving it, and what is your desired outcome. The only additions that you are doing to this potentially are going to be in the create framework. You might provide it samples of what you've done before. That's the first E for examples, and how you want it to adjust. So again, maybe you only had the time and capability to look at data and determine regional data, but now you want it to do city and state data, right? You want to take it to that next level. So how do you want it to adjust? Examples and adjustment, adding to the RACE framework. The other one would be that you have a step-by-step procedure that you want it to follow either alongside you or in its own performance of the task. So you are going to outline these steps to tell it, here's exactly how you are going to do this for me, and it's automating tasks for you. That's how you're going to do prompt engineering. AI model understanding. ChatGPT is great for human-to-human interaction. Gemini is great for real-world data and Google ecosystem integration. Claude is great for technical tasks and also highly ethical and unbiased responses. XAI is phenomenal at social media and engagement and content creation. And Perplexity is your AI research assistant. Then You're looking at building AI projects and agents that really, really begin to automatically and repeatably augment your capabilities or take you to levels of efficiency by having agentic solutions where they're truly autonomous, functioning people in a digital space for you to really augment your capabilities. And that is what we're talking about here. So this is your must have AI development path to augment yourself and take you to the next level. If you like this video, you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you have any feedback or have any questions or clarifications, leave a comment below. I will respond to every single one. If you want me to expand on certain areas here or maybe cover topics or have feedback for my content in general, leave that down below. It is always welcome. That is why I'm here, is to give you value as my audience. So the feedback is always, always, always welcomed. And I respond to every single comment every single time. Check the track record. And don't forget that, again, I do my live webinars every single Friday for free, Q&A. I am also live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and X. So check me out there. And until next time, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you.